The bond chamber stood alone behind a wall of glowing vines. It was built into the side of a cliff where blue energy pulsed from cracks in the stone. The entrance opened like a mouth and sealed behind them without a sound. Inside, the air felt thick. The ceiling glowed faintly, and the floor was covered in soft moss-like fur. One large mat lay in the center. No lights, no guards, no cameras, just them. Tana walked around the space, checking the corners with sharp eyes. They cannot hear us in here, but the walls will test us. They sense fear, lies, hesitation. Jared stood near the edge, not moving. So even the room is watching us? She nodded. This is an ancient place. It chooses true bonds. If the chamber rejects us, it will not open. If we are not convincing, it will trap us inside until we break or starve. Jared stepped forward and sat on the edge of the mat. So what do we do? Just pretend to be lovers? Tana sat beside him and shook her head. Not pretend. The chamber must feel it. It must believe it is real. That means we trust each other. Even if we are scared. He looked at her. Her stripes shimmered under the chamber's soft light. She didn't wear armor now. Only a thin cloth wrap covered her shoulders. Her pendant still glowed faintly against her chest. I don't know much about your people, Jared said quietly. But I know you didn't have to save me. You could have walked away, let them take me. But you didn't. Tana lowered her head. I didn't do it for you alone. I did it because I was tired of war, tired of death. And I saw something in you I hadn't seen in a long time. A man who acted with heart, not orders. Jared placed his hand gently over the mark on his wrist. I don't know if I can make the chamber believe, but I can try. I can trust you. She placed her hand over his. That is enough. The room shifted. The vines on the walls pulsed brighter. The ceiling warmed. The floor vibrated gently. Beneath them, the chamber was watching. They sat in silence for a while. Tana moved closer and leaned against him. Her body was warm and light. He could feel the tension still inside her, even as she rested. Jared slowly wrapped his arm around her shoulder. She didn't pull away. Instead, she closed her eyes and rested her head on his chest. It felt strange, but it didn't feel wrong. Do your people always bond this way? He asked softly. No, she whispered. This bond is rare, sacred. Only formed when one chooses to protect another above all else. Not for power, not for blood, but for meaning. Jared looked down at her, feeling the slow beat of her heart through his side. Then why choose me? She raised her eyes and met his gaze. Because you gave without asking, fought without hatred. And I needed someone who reminded me why we were alive. A soft hum filled the chamber. The walls rippled gently. The glow of the vines turned gold. Tana's pendant lit up stronger, casting a ring of light around their bodies. She sat up and took both his hands in hers. The chamber believes. It accepts the bond. Now we must seal it with a vow. Jared didn't understand the words, but he nodded. Tell me what to say. She spoke in her tongue first, slow and clear. Then she looked into his eyes and said, Repeat. I choose you not for safety, but for purpose. I protect you as my own. My life yours. My strength yours. Jared repeated each word, his voice steady, his breath slow. He meant every word, even if he didn't fully understand the weight. He didn't want to lose her. When he finished, the chamber released a warm breeze across their skin. The vines pulsed one final time and then went still. The entrance opened with a soft hiss. The ritual was complete. Tana stood up, eyes shining. We walk out now as one. They will see it. They will feel it. But we must remain close. Any doubt will invite danger, Jared nodded. He didn't let go of her hand. As they stepped outside, the guards who waited outside didn't speak. They bowed. Tana led the way toward the great halls. Now we must meet with the war circle. They will Decide your role. They cannot question my choice, but they will still test your worth. Jared's chest tightened. More tests? She gave a small smile. Yes, but now you're not alone. They walked through the corridors, side by side. Eyes followed. Them, whispers echoed, but no one stopped them. No one raised a hand. The bond had changed everything. When they reached the high balcony, 3 warlords stood waiting. Each wore armor of a different house. One had eyes like fire. One had blades for fingers. The third didn't speak, only stared. Taina spoke first. This is my chosen. He is under my oath. His life is mine to protect. He deserves a place among. U.S. The tallest warlord stepped forward and grinned. Then let him prove it. Let the human face the trial of flame. If he survives, he keeps the bond. If not, the chamber lied. Jared felt his blood run cold. What's the trial of flame? Taina turned her face toward him. Her voice was quiet but firm. It means they will try to burn away your truth. But if your heart holds, they cannot touch you. Jared stood before a wide circular pit made of dark stone. A red mist rose from its center. The walls around him were silent, filled with watching eyes, warriors, and nobles alike. Taina stayed beside him until the last moment. Her hand touched his chest, firm and warm. This is not about strength, she whispered. It is about will. If you stay true inside, they cannot break you. He nodded once. The warlords gave no instructions, only gestures. One motioned. Toward the pit. Jared climbed down slowly, stone by stone, his skin growing hotter with each step. At the bottom, fire danced beneath the surface of the floor, like it was alive. The air pressed against him, thick and dry. Sparks floated upward and burned out just inches from his face. A deep voice echoed through the walls. Jared didn't understand the words, but he didn't have to. The trial had begun. He was alone. Now the fire rose in bursts around him. Illusions formed in the smoke. He saw shadows wearing human armor, all falling, all screaming. Then he saw himself running away, alone, while others burned. His chest ached. The flames whispered doubts. You're not a warrior. You're a coward. You should have died back on Earth. But he clenched his fists. I stayed behind to save them, he said out loud. I tried. I didn't run. The fire hissed, curling. Higher. A figure stepped from the smoke, shaped like Taina. She pointed at him and screamed in an alien tongue. Her eyes glowed like blades. She looked betrayed. Jared shook his head. You're not real. She trusted me. I trust her. I won't break now. The heat pressed closer. His skin burned. Sweat dripped down his face. He dropped to one knee but did not fall. He gritted his teeth and shouted, You can't make me doubt. Her. You can't make me forget who I am. The fire exploded in a red flash, then pulled back. The illusions vanished. The heat faded. Jared remained kneeling, chest heaving, hands trembling. But he had not screamed. He had not begged. A horn sounded above. The trial was over. Jared stood slowly and looked up. Dozens of eyes stared down at him, silent. Then, one by one, the warlords began to nod. He climbed back up, feet blistered. Legs weak. Taina met him at the top. She looked into his eyes and didn't speak. She just wrapped both arms around him and held him tight. You endured, she whispered. The bond is proven. Even the flames accepted you. Jared didn't answer. He couldn't. His throat was dry, but his heart beat strong. He had faced the worst part of himself and survived. The lead warlord stepped forward. He lives. The fire did not consume him. He may walk our halls without chains. He may eat at our tables. But he still belongs to you, Taina. She bowed her head slightly. And I accept him fully. His blood is mine to shield. His path is now joined with mine. Jared looked around. Warriors who once snarled at him now nodded in respect. The chamber that once whispered death now stood quiet in recognition. He turned to Tana. "Does this mean I'm one of them now?" "Not yet," she said, "but now they must treat you as more than prey. They will watch. They will test again. But you are no longer marked for death." The war circle dismissed. Tana led him to the inner sanctum, a quiet place with soft light and stone fountains. He sat on the edge of the pool, finally breathing with ease. She knelt beside him. "You don't know what this means to me. I have stood before that fire. Twice. The first time I failed. The second time I watched my brother fail. You are the first to win since the war began." He looked at her closely. "Then why risk your life helping someone like me?" She didn't speak for a while. Then she leaned her head on his shoulder. "Because I believe something better can rise from what we lost. And maybe that something begins with us." They rested there for a while. The silence between them felt warm, not heavy. Jared didn't know what would come next, but he no longer felt like a prisoner. He felt chosen. Later that evening, a messenger arrived. The elders had summoned Tana and Jared to speak before the council. Not for punishment, but for proposal. As they walked through the glowing halls, Jared whispered, "Why are they calling us now?" Tana didn't answer at first. Then she said, "Because some want to make the bond official across both worlds. They want peace. They want symbols. And they see us as that symbol." Jared slowed his steps. "You mean us together, as a sign of peace?" She looked at him seriously. "Yes, but not all agree. Some will try to break us before that can happen. We must be ready." He took her hand in his. "Then let them try." The council chamber stood tall and round, built from crystal and bone. Each wall pulsed with energy. The moment Jared stepped inside, he felt the pressure in the air change. Dozens of aliens lined the curved room. Some wore robes of light. Others carried weapons made from glowing stone. All eyes locked on Jared and Tana as they entered the center ring. A low hum filled the chamber. One elder raised his staff, and the rest fell silent. Tana dropped to one knee, and Jared did the same without being told. He could feel the tension all around them. The elder began to speak in their tongue, slow and clear. Tana translated softly. "For Jared, he says the bond has caused waves. Some see it as hope. Some see it as weakness." Another elder stood, her voice sharper. "She believes the ritual was faked. She demands a second test. One not of fire, but of unity. A test of mind and emotion." Jared whispered. "What does that mean?" Tana answered, "It means they will dive into our thoughts, into our feelings. They will see if what we feel is truth or a lie." Jared's heart pounded. "And if they find out, they will break the bond. You will be cast out, and I will lose everything." He looked at her and saw no fear in her eyes. Only trust. He nodded once. "Then we let them in." A silver-skinned elder approached them holding two small spheres. He handed one to Jared, one to Tana. "Place it over your heart. Do not resist. Let your thoughts flow." Jared pressed the sphere against his chest. A wave of warmth shot through his body. He gasped but didn't move. Light poured from the sphere and wrapped around him like mist. Tana did the same. Her light was blue, his was white. The two lights reached for each other, touching in the air between them. The elders began to chant. Jared felt his mind open. He saw memories flash behind his eyes, his childhood, his mother's smile, his days as a tech worker, the war, the fire trial. Tana's hand reaching for him in the cell. Then he saw her memories. Her training as a warrior, her laughter with her brother, his death, her loneliness, her anger at the war, her first sight of him saving strangers beneath falling debris. Tears welled in his eyes. He hadn't known she carried such pain. She had hidden it behind strength, behind duty. Now it poured into him, and he accepted it without turning away. He opened his thoughts fully. He showed her his doubts, his fear of being useless, his shame at surviving when others didn't, his respect for her, his growing trust, his quiet, rising need to protect her back. Their light pulsed together, brighter than before. The mist around them swirled faster. The elders stopped chanting. The two spheres cracked open and vanished. The chamber fell silent. Then one elder stepped forward. The bond is real, not created by fear, not built on lies. They are joined in purpose and in truth. The council began to bow one by one. Taina stood tall, her face calm. Jared stood with her, the warmth of their connection still humming in his chest. Outside the chamber, a large crowd had gathered. Word of the trial had spread. When they appeared on the steps, the aliens didn't boo or shout. They pounded fists to chests, a sign of honor. Jared turned to Taina. What now? She looked at him. Now we prepare for the hardest part. The ones who fear change will strike soon, and they won't use tests. They'll use weapons. Later that night, the wind howled outside the stone walls. Guards doubled their patrols. Taina and Jared sat by a fire in her private chamber. The door was locked, but the tension didn't leave. You should sleep, she said softly. I can't, Jared replied. Too much noise in my head. Too many images. She moved closer and sat beside him. Then let silence be our rest. Just for tonight. He nodded and leaned against her. Her shoulder was strong, her breath steady. In that moment, the world outside didn't exist. There was only her and the warmth between them. But high above, in the shadow towers, a pair of eyes watched through a glass crystal. A general of a... But they won't fool my blades. Send the order. Kill the human. Make it look like betrayal. The next morning began with silence, but it wasn't peaceful. The guards stationed at the gate had not returned from their night patrol. Their posts were empty. The tension in the air was thick. Jared rose from his mat as Taina stood at the window, eyes scanning the horizon. Her hand stayed close to the dagger on her hip. She didn't speak at first. She just stared at the dark hilltop beyond the walls. They've moved early, she finally said. I thought we had time. I was wrong. Someone wants this bond broken with blood. Jared joined her at the window. You think they'll come after me directly? They won't try inside the walls, she said. Not with witnesses. They'll wait until we're isolated. Somewhere they can strike without anyone seeing. A knock at the chamber door pulled their eyes away. A young guard entered, face pale. Lady Taina, you are summoned to the outer temple, alone. Council matter, they said. She nodded slowly. Tell them I will come, but not alone. The guard hesitated. They insisted. Only you. Jared stepped forward. It's a trap. They're using the council to lure you out. Then they'll use me as leverage. Or worse. Taina gripped his arm. Then we won't follow their plan. We'll make our own. Minutes later, they left through the servants' tunnel beneath the compound. Taina wore her ceremonial cloak. Jared carried no weapon, only the collar that marked his bond. They moved fast across the lower cliffs. The outer temple stood ahead, its towers casting long shadows. Jared's breath stayed tight. He could feel eyes watching from somewhere unseen. As they crossed a stone bridge, Taina stopped suddenly. Her eyes narrowed. Behind us, two warriors. Not council guards. Jared turned and saw the movement. Two cloaked figures closing in with purpose. Before he could speak, a third dropped from above, blade drawn. Taina blocked the strike with her forearm and countered with a sharp kick. The assassin stumbled. Jared grabbed a fallen rod from the bridge's edge and swung it into the attackers. Knee, bone cracked. The assassin screamed. The two behind rushed forward. Taina met them with steel. Her movements were sharp, fast, practiced. She cut one across the chest. then dropped low and swept the other's legs. Jared held his rod high, ready to swing again, but the three attackers were down, groaning or unconscious. Tana stood over them, chest rising and falling with fury. "They wore the crest of House Varka," she said. "They were from my brother's killer's clan. They want revenge for what I represent, for what we are." Jared looked around. "We have to keep moving. There may be more." They raced to the temple gate. This time, real council guards met them. Tana held out her arm, showing the blood-stained blade. "Assassins attacked us on the bridge. Send scouts. Warn the high circle." The guards moved quickly, but one stayed behind. An old female with silver eyes and a long scar down her throat. She looked at Jared, then back at Tana. "You bring danger with your choices," the woman said. "But you also bring change. Be ready. Tonight, the council will speak openly. And not all will be kind." They entered the temple's inner chamber. The elders sat in silence. No trial, no chance. Just quiet stares and unreadable faces. Jared stood tall beside Tana. One elder spoke. "The attack was not sanctioned, but fear has grown. Some believe the bond makes us weak. Some believe it makes us blind." Another elder rose. "So we ask again, do you still stand beside him, warrior of the flame?" Tana answered without pause. "Yes, his courage is greater than any blade I have seen. And I would lay down my life for his." They turned to Jared. "And you, human of Earth, do you still carry her mark with truth?" He raised his chin. "I do. She saved me. But more than that, she showed me something worth living for. Something worth protecting." The elders exchanged glances. Then the oldest among them nodded. "Then we declare this bond not only real but sacred. Let no hand rise against it without war." The chamber filled with silent approval. But beyond the temple, in the dark parts of the land, others were not pleased. A new plot was already forming, and the next strike would not be subtle. The Kree. Night sky over the alien capital burned orange with the light of distant fires. Jared stood with Tana on the temple's upper wall, watching the horizon. Smoke curled over the cliffs like warning signals from the stars. The attack hadn't come from within the council. It came from the outer clans, furious at the council's decision to protect the human bond. Ships descended without warning. Raiders struck supply routes. 3 border towers had already fallen. Tana adjusted the straps of her armor. Her eyes remained fixed on the glow in the distance. "They don't want a trial. They want blood. They want to erase this bond before others try to copy it." Jared tightened his gloves. "Then what do? We hide." She turned to him. Slowly, "No, we lead. We fight not just to survive, but to show them this bond makes us stronger, not weaker." The council had granted Tana command of a strike force. She requested only 5 warriors and Jared. The council disagreed, but she insisted. She would not fight without the one who made her stronger. Jared had trained in silence. He wasn't a soldier by birth, but he had endured fire, passed tests of will, and walked through traps. He had stood beside her when death was promised. Now he was ready. They descended the wall and entered the launch bay. A small craft waited, armed and fast. Tana handed him a metal bracer. "This connects us. If I fall, it will tell you where I am. If you fall, it will bring me to you." He strapped it on without a word. She tapped her forehead against his and closed her eyes. "We do this together." The ship cut through the dark skies. Lightning broke across the horizon. Raiders moved like insects below, swarming outposts and patrols. Tana's team hit them from above. Jared dropped down with her into the chaos. The battlefield was a maze of smoke and light. He fought beside her, dodging blades, striking fast. His instincts sharpened with every clash. A raider aimed for her back. Jared saw it first. He pushed forward, shield raised. The blade struck the metal and glanced off. He tackled the attacker and brought him down with one clean strike. She looked at him, chest heaving. "You move like one of us now. And you. Fight like you were meant for more," he said with a breath. They pressed forward through the chaos. Tana led with fire in her blood. Jared stayed close, every step locked with hers. The team split to handle pockets of resistance. At the center of it all, one ship stood taller than the rest. The command vessel belonged to the clan that ordered his death, the same one that killed Tana's brother. Now they hid behind shields and commands, too proud to fight in the dirt. Tana didn't hesitate. She charged through the gate as Jared covered her side. They reached the command room where the High Warlord stood waiting in full ceremonial armor. "You have broken law," the Warlord hissed. "You stained the bloodline with this false union." Tana stepped forward. "It was never false. It was forged in fire, and it stands unshaken. Unlike you." The Warlord raised his blade and lunged. Jared moved to intercept, but Tana was faster. She twisted under the strike and drove her blade through his side. The Warlord gasped and fell to his knees. "You should have never touched my family," she said as she pulled the blade free. With the commander fallen, the remaining raiders scattered. The battle ended as fast as it began. Fires dimmed. Ships returned to the clouds. The night began to settle. Jared and Tana stood over the ruins of the vessel. Her people gathered, weapons lowered. Some knelt. Others raised their hands in silent salute. No one questioned the bond now. Back at the capital, the council declared the war halted. The clans called a summit. New paths opened. Some aliens approached Jared without fear. Some even offered gifts, gestures of respect and apology. Tana walked beside him through the high court garden. Flowers bloomed under alien moons. Children ran across the stones without worry. For the first time, peace felt possible. "You changed everything," she said quietly. "No," Jared replied. "We did it together." She stopped and faced him. Her fingers touched the edge of his collar, now engraved with her family's crest. "You are not just bonded to me now, you are part of my clan. And if you choose to stay, you always will be." Jared smiled and placed his hand over hers. "Then I stay, not just for the bond, but for you." She leaned in, and for the first time in front of all, she kissed him, not to prove anything. Not for ritual. Just because it was real. The cell was cold, and smelled like metal and burnt ash. Jared sat with his back against the wall, eyes fixed on the crack under the door. The noise outside was getting louder, alien voices shouting orders and boots marching on steel floors. He knew they were coming for him next. He had been a technician, not a soldier. When the alien ships arrived, his job was to fix satellites and monitor solar panels. But after the third city fell, every human was drafted, even ones like him who had never held a weapon. They caught him during the retreat from Station 6. He had been trying to help injured civilians escape through an underground pipe. A drone saw him, marked him as a rebel, and now he was here. He didn't even understand their language. The creatures were tall and strong, with glowing eyes and hard blue skin. Their armor looked like living stone. They never spoke to him, only barked to each other and threw him around like a bag of sand. Every time the door opened, his heart stopped. But this time was different. Instead of soldiers, a single alien girl walked in. She was shorter than the others, with a softer face and long black stripes down her arms. She didn't wear full armor, just light robes and a glowing pendant around her neck. She walked close to him, knelt, and looked him in the eyes. Jared tried to back away, but there was nowhere to go. Then she whispered in clear, broken English, "You must trust me, don't speak. Just follow." Before he could ask anything, she pulled out a knife. Jared flinched, but she didn't stab him. Instead, she cut her own hand and let the blood drip onto the stone floor. Drawing a strange symbol, She grabbed his wrist and pressed it into the mark. The stone lit up. A burning red glow wrapped around both their hands. Jared's skin tingled. Then the door burst open, and 3 armed guards stormed in with weapons raised. The alien girl stood up and shouted something sharp and powerful. The guards paused, looked at each other, then slowly lowered their guns. One of them said something that sounded like a question. She nodded, then pointed to Jared and tapped her own chest. The guards froze. One took a step back. Another dropped. His weapon. Jared didn't understand what was happening until she looked at him and whispered, "They think I chose you. Ritual bond. They cannot kill you now." He was stunned. "Why would you do this?" he asked in a whisper. But she just grabbed his arm and pulled him forward. The guards didn't stop them. They stepped aside like they were afraid of her now. Jared followed her through the long metal hallway. Sirens blared in the distance. Other aliens stared as they passed. Some bowed, some whispered. One even backed into a wall, as if to avoid them completely. "I'm risking everything," she said as they turned a corner. "You touched sacred mark. Now they think we are linked. They believe your death would curse my clan. Then why save me?" Jared asked. "I'm just a human. You don't even know me." She didn't answer right away. They reached a round chamber with glowing walls and floating lights. It felt like a temple, but the tension in her steps told him this place was dangerous too. She motioned for him to kneel beside her. She placed her hands together and started a soft chant. Jared didn't understand the words, but he knelt anyway, trying to copy her movements. After a minute, she turned to him. "They watch everything. Cameras everywhere. If we stop pretending, they will know it was lie. Then they execute both of us." Jared's hand started to shake. "So what now? We just act like we're together?" he asked, still unsure what she had done. She looked down. "We act like I have claimed you, as mate, as protector. They cannot harm me, so they cannot harm you." He stared at her. The same girl who minutes ago had walked into his prison cell was now pretending they were bonded for life. He didn't know her name, didn't know her world, didn't even know why she had chosen him. Outside the chamber, guards stood at every corner. The alien girl stood up and walked with pride, her back straight, her face hard. Jared followed, heart pounding. They passed dozens of soldiers, none dared speak. Once they reached a quieter hallway, she slowed her pace. "My name is Tana. I was supposed to be diplomat, but war changed everything. My people lost honor. This is my way to reclaim it." Jared nodded slowly. "And saving me helps you do that?" he asked, still confused. Tana stopped and faced him. "You saved others at Station 6. I saw the report. You helped wounded. You didn't run. That means more to me than bloodline or command." He didn't know what to say. No one had ever looked at him like that before. Like he was worth something. Not even his own commanders had shown that kind of trust. Suddenly, Tana pulled him into a side room and closed the door. "This room is shielded. We have few minutes. No one can hear us." Jared leaned against the wall, his legs weak. "Are we safe?" he asked. "No," she said calmly. "We are not safe. But we are together. And that is a start." Jared sat on the floor of the shielded room while Tana stood guard at the door. She didn't move, didn't blink, just listened to every sound outside. Her sharp ears twitched as footsteps echoed in the distance. He looked at the glowing lines on his wrist. The ritual mark she had forced him to press into still glowed faintly. It felt warm, almost alive. He rubbed it gently, trying to understand what had just happened. Tana turned and spoke quickly. "You must learn to act like we are bonded. The others will test us. If they see doubt in your eyes, they will question everything." Jared nodded. "I'm trying. But this is a lot. 1 hour ago, I thought I was going to die. Now I'm pretending to be some alien girl's mate. It doesn't make any sense." She walked closer and kneeled in front of him. I didn't choose you because I had to. I chose you because you were already brave. And I knew you wouldn't panic." Her voice was calm, but her hands were tight, her fingers twitching. She was nervous too. Jared could see it now. She wasn't just helping him. She was risking her life. "What happens if they find out we lied?" he asked. She looked away. "My clan would lose face. I would be stripped of rank. You would be killed. Maybe worse." The weight of her words hung in the fog in the air. Jared closed his eyes and tried to steady his breath. He had made it out of death row, but the danger hadn't left. It had just changed shape. Suddenly the door opened and a soldier stepped in. He was taller than Tana, with scarred cheeks and a heavy axe across his back. His armor had markings. Jared didn't understand. But Tana stood up fast and bowed slightly. The guard barked something at her. She replied in the alien tongue, sharp and fast. Then she motioned toward Jared and placed her hand on his shoulder. The guard narrowed his eyes, then walked out without saying another word. Tana waited for 5 seconds, then exhaled slowly. "That was my cousin. He does not believe the bond is real. He will test us again. Maybe soon." Jared stood up, trying to act stronger than he felt. "So how do we prepare for that?" She opened a panel on the wall and pulled out a silver band. It shimmered when it caught the light. She walked up and clipped it around Jared's neck. "This is a clan collar. It proves you are claimed. It also lets others track us." "Track us?" Jared frowned. "That doesn't sound helpful. It is not meant for help. It is meant for control. But now we use their tools to survive. You wear this, and they will believe the bond deeper." He touched the collar. It hummed faintly like a quiet engine. Somehow, it made everything feel more real, like he was now property. Or protected. Or both. "We must go to the Chamber of Truth," Tana said. "There, we will show our bond before the elders. If they believe us, they will bless the union. If they don't, we both die." Jared felt a pit open in his stomach. "Then we better be convincing." They left the safe room and walked in silence. The halls were wider now, filled with lights that shifted color with each step. Some aliens bowed their heads. Others whispered. The bond had become public. They entered a huge room with glowing steps and crystal walls. In the center sat 5 tall aliens, their bodies draped in thick robes covered in bone charms and markings. Their faces were hidden behind white masks. Tana dropped to one knee and bowed. Jared followed, unsure of the gesture but copying it exactly. The floor felt warm, as if the chamber itself was watching them. The center elder spoke. His voice was deep and echoed through the room. Tana answered, her voice steady, proud, unshaking. Then one of the elders pointed at Jared and spoke directly to him. Tana translated fast. "He asks if you are loyal, if you accept the bond, if you would fight beside me or die with me." Jared raised his head. "Yes, I accept the bond. I would fight beside her." The elders didn't move. Then another one stood and walked forward. He carried a long staff with a glowing crystal. He pointed it at Jared's chest. The light flickered and scanned him slowly. Jared stood still. His heart raced, but he didn't blink. He kept thinking about Tana's words. If he showed doubt, they would both be finished. The elder pulled back the staff and spoke in a low chant. Then he turned to the others. All 5 elders raised their hands into the air and held them still for several seconds. Tana whispered, "It is done." They believe. For now, the tension in the room vanished like a wave breaking against the shore. Jared let out a breath and stood taller. They had passed the first test. But it wouldn't be the last. As they exited the chamber, Tana leaned close and whispered, "You did well." "They watched your eyes. They saw strength." Jared looked at her. "You sound surprised." She shook her head slowly. "I'm not. But now we must go deeper. The next part is harder." We must sleep in the bond chamber, alone, together, for one full night. Jared blinked. What does that mean? Tana didn't answer with words. She just turned and walked toward the eastern gate, where the bond chamber waited in silence. Jared followed, his heart thudding in his chest. He had escaped death, but now he was walking into something stranger, something even more dangerous.